YTBC, what's the deal? So I'm sitting here watching the Vitaly Klitschko versus Kirk Johnson fight that took place in late 2003. Kirk Johnson, man, he's kind of a guy that's forgotten, you know, of the 2000s decade. He had a run from about 2000 to 2003 where he was a legit, top 7, top 6 heavyweight, in my opinion. Just to give you, guys an idea, some of you guys that forgot or some of you guys just don't know, some of the guys around that era, you had guys like Fred Zakendo, Larry Dono, Hakeem Rodman, Chris Bird, Jamil McCline, Michael Grant was still around. You had the Klitschko brothers, David Tua, Tyson, Holyfield, and Lewis were the 3 big names remaining from that 90s regime. So they were still there. Guys were looking to knock them off and get a name for themselves. As you can see with Lennox Lewis, he fought Vitaly. Holyfield fought John Ruiz. We know Lewis fought Rockman, and so guys were looking to cross over and try to capitalize off a win from that big 3. But Kirk Johnson was a guy, man, who I was a big fan of coming up. I want to say like my junior year of high school, so about 97, 98, 99 is when I first got a chance to see Kirk Johnson fight. I seen him fight on the those ESPN fight cards where it wasn't Friday Night Fights back then. I forgot what it was called, but I remember Al Bernstein used to do the telecast. I seen the fight on HBO against John Ruiz. The Lou Severis fights that was on Fox Sports Net. And just watching him, man, he had fast hands. He was about 6'2". At his best weight, in my opinion, was about 225, but he was about 6'2". He had fast hands. I didn't know what his chin would be like, but rather than that, as far as looking at him as a prospect and contender, I thought Kirk Johnson was going to be one of the leaders going into the 2000s. At least the 2000s, being one of the champions, one of the new faces of the heavyweight division. It didn't turn out like that, man. The dude just never took care of his weight, man. Like, he came into the Klitschko fight weighing 260. He outweighed Vitaly by 10 pounds. You could tell he was out of shape for that fight. He tried to come out swinging for the fences. He was trying to surprise Vitaly with just trading with him. And I remember watching this fight with some teammates, man. It was my last year of college. I remember watching this fight, man. And and I was hyping this Kirk Johnson dude up because with my teammates, I had them watch the Vitaly versus Lennox fight. So off that fight, they like Klitschko, so they would come over to my apartment and shit, and I would have guys over there, try to get 3 or 4 guys over there to watch these fights, man. Because in college, those guys, my college teammates, really wasn't fight fans unless it was, Tyson, Lewis, or, Trinidad, De La Hoya, something big like that. But like fights like this, Vitaly versus Kirk Johnson, wasn't a big fight to them. But since they had seen Vitaly against Lennox, and a few of them I remember thought that, he should have won. Well, he was winning the fight when he got stopped. They came over and watched this, and I'm hyping Kirk Johnson up. I had read about, some of his fights in the Ring magazine. Like I said, I watched him on TV. I thought he was the goods, man. Hand speed, power. He had a good jab. Sometimes he will get complacent. His activity would be dormant sometimes in fights because he'll get the posturing and moving around. But he can move. He had good feet, and he was a nice sized dude as far as his build. He looked like a damn linebacker, man. But he can move. He had fast hands. He was in shape. And he tricked off his chance when he was going to fight Lennox, because he was supposed to fight Lennox that first time that Vitaly fought him. People don't remember that, or they don't know. He was supposed to fight Lennox. Lennox came in out of shape in that fight. That's why he was so out of shape. He was looking to fight Kirk Johnson. Then when they put sales for Vitaly, he didn't, Lennox didn't mind that either. Seeing that Vitaly was winning against Chris Bird and pretty much quit because, his shoulder was hurt, whether it was legitimate or not. So Lennox was expecting to face Kirk Johnson. It had Kirk Johnson, and I know it's big. It's an if. But, man, if Kirk Johnson came into that Lennox fight the way Lennox was against Vitaly, and Kirk Johnson came in at about 225 and in shape, he could have possibly pulled an upset off that night. Now, again, we don't know how good Kirk Johnson's chin was up until that point. I remember Ruiz hurt him pretty bad. Ruiz could have probably scored a knockdown against Kirk Johnson had he not wrestled him to the floor and threw him down. But he hurt Kirk Johnson with some right hands. And there are right hands that Johnson didn't see. So I mean, Lennox could have knocked him out that night too, but Kirk Johnson was a guy, man, he just never got his weight down, man. The dude had everything it took to be a heavyweight champion. We know when he had a chance against Ruiz, his first, chance at the title, that was a good fight. It was a winnable fight. When Cortez stopped the fight, he stopped it for low blows. Man, Ruiz was doing a lot of holding. It was just a dirty fight, man. Typical John Ruiz type fights. Look at the Holyfield fights. Ruiz was a guy you need a distance. You need to keep your distance against Ruiz, man. And if you did get inside, you had to be a good inside fighter like a Riddick Bowe, or a big guy that can push Ruiz off you or get him off you, or move him backwards. But if he was just as strong as you or can tie you up and you didn't keep distance, it was going to be an ugly fight, Ruiz. And Kirk Johnson fell into that. I forgot which round Cortez stopped it in, but I know there was a few rounds left. It was a close fight. Johnson could have possibly pulled the fight out, but Ruiz won. He was up on the scorecards when the DQ happened, but it was a close fight, and after that fight, Johnson went on, he fought Lou Savarese, Jeremy Bates, to get his swag back, but he was just coming in out of shape. He was just flabby, weighing his best weight was 225, is coming in at 260. So I don't know, man, for some of you that's never heard of Kirk Johnson, just go back, watch his fights against Oleg Moskiev, or when he fought Big Al Cole. Al Cole, I know, was better at cruiserweight. He was a former cruiserweight champion for some years, man. I know Al Cole had like a 5 or 6 year run where he was a cruiserweight champion. Never got a chance to unify. I remember back in the mid-90s, I wanted to see him try to unify with Orlin Norris, but it never happened. Norris only held on to his strap for a little bit. But, Big Al Cole, he played in the Ali movie, too. If y'all don't remember who Big Al Cole was, he played Ernie Terrell in Ali. But he was a big, or I ain't going to say big, but just a tall cruiserweight. He's about 6'4", 6'5", Al Cole was. And I remember watching those fights with Kirk Johnson. He had a draw with Johnson. Thought Johnson could have pulled that one off, but Cole fought a good fight that fight, and then he was able to beat him decisively in the second fight. But Kirk Johnson, yeah, man, he's just a forgotten guy, I don't know if it was injuries. I know he went on to fight a few more times after the Klitschko fight, but it wasn't the same. He, like I said, from about 2000, 2003, Kirk Johnson was a top 6, 7 heavyweight. I really want to see him in there with Lennox. Now, he could have lost against Lennox, but I just want the 225 version of Kirk Johnson, though. But hey, man, Lennox could have probably caught him with a right hand, probably got him out of there. But, and I thought Johnson was heavy when he fought Lou Savarese, the fight before he fought Klitschko. Savarese wasn't a complete pushover, especially if you do a freeze frame of that moment in time. Savarese had KO'd, Buster Douglas, a 1998 version of Buster Douglas. He had got stopped by Tyson. That was that classic Tyson rant at the end of the fight when he went on to say that he would eat Lennox Lewis' children. Lou Savarese was the guy that he knocked out. But Lou Savarese also had a close split decision loss to Foreman, and he TKO'd the old Tim Witherspoon. So that win against, Savarese wasn't a bad win for Kirk Johnson, but he was out of shape in that fight too. Then he went in against Vitaly. He tried to trade. I'm watching the fight now again. He was trying to trade in the second round, I guess he was thinking because he's 260 and Vitaly's 250 that he was the bigger man, but he wasn't. That was just fat. Really, he's about 225. And he just didn't fight like Kirk Johnson, man. The hand speed was there, but he was trying to just stand and trade with Vitaly like he was the power puncher, and he wasn't. He wasn't, even though he used to get KOs, he wasn't a power puncher like that. He could fight off his back foot. He could move. He was a good athlete, man. He was a good boxer puncher. And he just never really gave himself the opportunity to really excel at the top level of the heavyweight division. And he did it one time, when he came in and fought Ruiz. And unfortunately, that bout was stopped to low blows. But yeah, man, just a little quick video on Kirk Johnson. Just thinking about some heavyweight boxing right now. And I was just thinking about guys, from the early 2000s. But Kirk Johnson was a guy, man, I thought he could have beat Jamil McCline, Chris Bird, Hakeem Rodman, Michael Grant. I thought he could have beat all those dudes. Freza Kendo, Corey Sanders. I thought he could have beat them. Sanders was really good too. But, you know, I thought Kirk Johnson was going to be the one that separated himself from that crop and take over, you know, from the likes of Tyson, Holyfield, and Lewis. But I was wrong, and it was the Klitschko brothers who separated themselves. YTBC, I'm out.